3 days ago, I turned 105 years old. This morning, I got up on my own, dressed on my own, and cooked my own breakfast in the same kitchen I've cooked in for 51 years. No nurse, no nursing home, no calling my children to come rescue me. And my children are in their 80s, so they'd be slow getting here anyway. 25 years ago, not one person in my family believed this morning would ever happen, because back then, my blood sugar was trying to take all of it away. If you're watching this, I'd wager somebody's worried about you. Maybe it's your doctor frowning at your blood work. Maybe it's your daughter asking one too many questions about what you're eating. Or maybe it's you lying awake at 3 o'clock in the morning doing arithmetic on how many independent years you've got left. I know that arithmetic. I did it every night for a year. At 80, my fasting sugar sat near 180, and everybody gave me the same advice. Cut the bread. Cut the potatoes. Cut everything that made a meal worth sitting down for. What actually turned my numbers around was the opposite. Adding 10 cheap foods from an ordinary grocery store. I'll give you everyone what it does, how I take it in plain words. And the stranger part, the food was maybe 30% of why I'm still in my own house. The other 70% almost nobody puts on a list. I'm saving it for the end because it's the part I wish someone had told my sister. It was never really about a number on a meter. It was about Ruth, my big sister. Sugar trouble ran her down slowly the way it does. First it took her feet, the feeling in them, then the steadiness. Then it went after her eyes, and then it took her address. Ruth spent her last 6 years in a facility hallway that smelled like disinfectant. Ruth raised 4 children and canned 100 quarts of tomatoes every August. At the end, she rang a little bell for someone to bring her tea. I sat with her every Sunday, and driving home, I made myself the same promise. Not me, not that hallway. So when my doctor sat me down at 80 and said we weren't talking about a warning anymore, this was type 2 diabetes and time to talk about a second medication, I heard Ruth's bell. This man didn't just reach for the prescription pad. He said, "Barbara, give me 90 days and give me your kitchen." Then the line I've repeated for 25 years, "We're not going to starve the sugar out of you. We're going to feed your body until it remembers what to do with sugar." Before the list, you need one picture, because once you have it, every food will make sense. My doctor drew it on the back of my lab report. Think of the sugar in your blood as folks standing in the aisle at church and insulin as the usher. His job is walking each person out of the aisle and into a seat. The aisle is your bloodstream. The seats are your cells where sugar gets used. But after years of big crowds, big meals, big spikes, the folks in the pew stop sliding over. The usher works harder and the aisle stays jammed. Doctors call that insulin resistance. Your pancreas, the little organ that makes insulin, sends out more and more ushers, and the crowd backs up anyway. That jammed aisle is the number on your meter. Every food on my list does one of 3 jobs. It lets folks in slower, so the aisle never floods. It calms the room. There's a quiet irritation in the body called inflammation that makes the pews stubborn. Or it teaches the seats to open again. Start where I started, breakfast, the fastest single change I made. For 50 years, I ate what my generation was told was virtuous: toast, cornflakes, orange juice, because juice was healthy. I might as well have been eating dessert at 7 o'clock in the morning. That breakfast marched a crowd straight into my aisle before the dishes were washed, and by 10 o'clock I was shaky, cranky, and hunting the cookie tin. Most people ride that roller coaster so long they think it's just old age. It isn't, and you can step off it tomorrow morning. Here's what I've eaten instead for 25 years: 2 whole eggs, yolk and all, and half an avocado. An egg is nearly all protein and good fat, hardly any carbohydrate, so it sends almost nobody into the aisle. And the avocado, my generation was taught to fear it, and that fear cost us. Its fat is the gentle kind in the same family as olive oil, and with its fiber, it slows the whole meal to a stroll. Here's the part that sold me. My doctor calls it the second meal effect. A calm breakfast doesn't just settle your morning, it settles lunch too, so the rise after your next meal comes gentler. The morning I checked my meter after 2 weeks of this, I sat down and cried. Not because the number was perfect, because for the first time in years, it was moving my way. Quick pause. My great-grandson Danny talked me into recording this, and he says I'm supposed to tell you, if an old woman's kitchen is worth your time, press subscribe so he keeps setting up this camera. Now stay with me because this next group is the one people skip. It sounds too simple to matter. That's exactly the mistake. Remember job 1, let the crowd in slower. 3 foods do that better than anything I've found. Picture a hard rain on packed dirt. It can't soak in, so it runs off and floods the ditch. Now picture the same rain on good garden soil. It soaks in slowly and deep, and nothing floods. These 3 foods turn your meals into garden soil. The first one most folks have never bought in their life: fenugreek seeds. Little amber seeds in the spice aisle, a couple of dollars a jar. Walk past them because the name sounds foreign and you miss one of the strongest tools on the shelf. Inside that seed is a fiber that swells into a thick gel the moment it meets water, and that gel slows how fast your stomach lets food through. Sugar trickles into the aisle instead of flooding it. 1 teaspoon of seeds soaked overnight in a glass of water. In the morning, drink the water and eat the softened seeds before breakfast. They're bitter, I won't lie. So if that's too much, grind them and stir half a teaspoon into yogurt. Start small. That fiber is strong and your gut needs a week to make friends with it. Second, chia seeds. Tiny gray specks that turn a glass of water into pudding, and that's exactly what they do inside you. Same gel wrapping around your meal, slowing it down. Chia also carries a plant fat from the omega-3 family that helps calm that quiet irritation. 1 or 2 tablespoons a day in yogurt or in water with a squeeze of lemon. Let it sit for 10 minutes to gel and drink plenty of water with it, because fiber without water is a traffic jam of its own. And third, this one made me laugh when my doctor wrote it down: lentils. Lentils are a carbohydrate and they steady my sugar. Sit with that. It's the whole argument of this video in one bowl. The starch in a lentil is the slow kind, wrapped in fiber and plant protein, so it lets go of its sugar over hours instead of minutes. Lentils carry that second meal effect too. Lentil soup at noon kept my supper reading gentler. I swapped them in for white rice and white potatoes 3 or 4 times a week. Half a cup to a cup cooked. Soup in winter, cold with oil and a splash of vinegar in summer. Cheap as dirt and twice as filling. But here's where it gets interesting. Slowing the crowd was only job 1. My numbers came down and then they stalled. What got them moving again lives in my spice cabinet. Before I tell you, if somebody you love is fighting their numbers, send them this video. Nobody sat our generation down and taught us this. 2 tools, both cheaper than a Sunday paper. First, cinnamon. But hold on, because the kind matters, and most folks grab the wrong jar. Everyday grocery cinnamon is cassia, and taken daily in real amounts, it carries a compound that's hard on the liver. The jar you want says Ceylon, milder. safer for every day. Cinnamon carries plant compounds that help insulin get a better grip, and it slows the stomach a touch besides. A quarter to a half teaspoon a day in oatmeal or coffee, and take it with a carbohydrate meal. That's when you want the grip. Second, if you own a glucose meter, you can watch this one work tonight. Apple cider vinegar. 1 tablespoon in a full glass of water, 10 to 15 minutes before your starchiest meal. The sour part slows your stomach and helps your muscles pull sugar out of the aisle and burn it for fuel. I won't promise you a number, I'm not your doctor, and everybody is different. Here's what my meter showed me. The after-supper climb that used to scare me flattened out within days. 2 rules, and don't skip them. Never drink it straight, always in water, because straight vinegar is cruel to tooth enamel and your throat. And the second rule matters more than anything else I'll say today, so lean in close. If you take medication for your blood sugar, pills, or insulin, these foods stack on top of that medicine. The vinegar, the fenugreek, the cinnamon, the fiber, all of it pulls the same direction as your prescription, and together they can pull you too low. A bad low is an emergency, not a victory. So do exactly what I did. Bring this list to your doctor. Let them watch your numbers and walk your dose down as your body improves. Mine lowered my dose step by step across that first year, checking my readings the whole way, and I never changed a single pill on my own. That partnership is why my story ends in my own kitchen instead of an emergency room. Don't skip the doctor, bring them along. Now the last group works on something you can't see or feel, and it's the reason some of you eat carefully and your numbers still won't budge. Remember job 2, calm the room. A low fire can smolder in a body for years. Doctors call it chronic inflammation, and it garbles the signal between insulin and your cells. The usher is talking, the pews can't hear him. 3 foods hushed that noise for me. Fatty fish twice a week, salmon when it's payday, and here's my secret for the rest of the month. Canned sardines and canned mackerel, some of the cheapest, most powerful food in the store. These fish carry omega-3 fats, nature's fire brigade. They settle the inflammation so the signal comes through clean. A piece about the size of your palm, baked, grilled, or straight from the can onto whole grain toast. Walnuts, a small handful, 7 to 10 instead of the afternoon cookie, instead of not on top of. The fat, fiber, and protein in a walnut turn a snack that used to spike me into a snack that holds me level clear to supper. And those same fats are kind to the lining of your blood vessels, the first thing high sugar likes to pick on. Raw or plain roasted, not the candied ones. I know, I miss them too. And last, the strangest one and the one I defend hardest, broccoli sprouts. Not broccoli, the little 3-day-old sprouts. My doctor put me onto these for one particular misery, the morning number. So many of us wake to the worst reading of the day after eating nothing all night. The reason is your liver, which quietly manufactures sugar while you sleep. And in folks like us, it makes too much. These sprouts carry a compound far more than grown broccoli has, that my doctor says asks that overnight factory politely to slow down. I grow them in a mason jar on my windowsill for pennies. A 1/4 cup most days, raw on a sandwich or salad. Raw matters. Hard cooking kills the good in them. So that was my doctor's list. Eggs and avocado to start the day on level ground. Fenugreek, chia, and lentils to let the crowd in slowly. Cinnamon and vinegar to help the seeds open. Fish, walnuts, and sprouts to quiet the room and hush the overnight factory. 10 foods, 3 jobs. I stacked them in over 3 weeks. You don't have to do it all by Tuesday. Within the first week, my fasting number began to ease. Within 4 months, my doctor canceled the second pill he'd been ready to write. Across the next year, watching the meter together, he walked the first one down too. I'm 105 now. I still get checked twice a year by his son these days, and my numbers still behave. That's my road. Yours may run differently. Walk it with your doctor, but walk it. Now, I promised you the 70%, and I'll be square about what this is and isn't, because at my age, I've got no patience left for fibbing. I can't hand you a study for what I'm about to say. It isn't a prescription. It's what 105 years taught one woman. But I've watched plenty of people eat right and still wither, and I've spent 25 years asking why. Here's what I believe. First, hold on to your faith. Whatever you hold on to, for me, it's the book on my nightstand and a prayer with my morning coffee. Hold it with both hands, and it's got nothing to do with magic. Fear is hard on the body. My own doctor says worry pours out stress hormones, and stress hormones push sugar up. He calls it cortisol. I call it stewing. The year my numbers went bad, I stewed every night. 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling. My faith is where I learned to set that fear down. Every morning, I hand what I can't control to bigger hands than mine, then go soak my fenugreek and tend what I can. I'm sleeping now. I wasn't used to it. Whether your quiet place is prayer, scripture, or a walk under old trees, find where you set your fear down and go there daily as faithfully as you'd take a pill. Second, live honestly. What's honesty got to do with blood sugar? I'll tell you what I've seen. A lie is heavy. A grudge is heavier. You carry them in your shoulders, your stomach, the hours you should be sleeping. I've known people eaten alive by a resentment they fed for 40 years, and no diet on earth was going to save them because the body keeps the books even when we won't. Somewhere in my 80s, I paid off every debt of the heart I had. I said the sorries I owed. I forgave 2 people who never asked me to. One was already gone, and I forgave him anyway, out loud in my garden. I can't prove what that did for my blood work. I can tell you I got lighter, and a light heart makes it easier to do every quiet thing on that food list, day after day for 25 years. And third, the biggest one. So if you keep only one thing from an old woman, keep this. Think of others. The people who study the places where folks live longest will tell you the common thread isn't a miracle food. It's purpose, being needed. The sickest year of my life wasn't the year of the bad blood work. It was the year after my husband passed. When I quietly decided I was finished, nobody needed me. So what was the use? I barely cooked. I barely moved. Everything slid. What pulled me back wasn't food. It was a knock at my door. A young mother down the street asking if I could sit with her baby for 1 hour. That hour became a Tuesday. That Tuesday became a reason to be strong. Here's the plain mechanics, nothing mystical. Purpose gets you out of bed gets you moving, cooking real food, and sleeping like a person with a clean heart. That's the whole engine. Purpose is the key that starts it. So here's my prescription, and it costs less than the fenugreek. Find somebody to help this week. Check on the neighbor nobody checks on. Call the person from church who dropped off everybody's list. You're making lentil soup anyway. Make it big and carry half next door. Teach a grandchild to grow sprouts in a jar. They'll think it's a science project, and you'll be handing them 50 good years. The fastest way to feel valuable is to be valuable to somebody. And a person who feels valuable fights for their health because they've got somewhere to be. That's the whole of it. That's why I'm not in the hallway that took my sister. Not because my body skipped old age, it didn't. But because every morning there's food that works with me instead of against me. A fear I know where to set down, a clean ledger. and people who'd notice by noon if my kitchen light didn't come on. Tomorrow I'll cook my own breakfast again. 2 eggs, half an avocado, and I'll say a prayer for every one of you watching with a number that scares you. Because I know that 3 a.m. arithmetic, and it can come out different. Now do something for me. In the comments, tell me your age and where you're watching from. If you try the vinegar tonight, come back and tell me what your meter said. Danny reads every comment to me on Sundays, and what you tell us decides what we film next. 105 years, and I'm still collecting reasons to be here. You just gave me one more.